Some studies have shown that growth hormone increases 5 to 10 times after sauna use, which is great for women who are struggling to build muscle mass because when estrogen goes down, we have a harder time building muscle. When we look at infrared saunas in particular, increased blood circulation can help reduce inflammation. So I want to go over the few people who shouldn't do it or should talk to their doctor first beforehand because it can result in worse health outcomes, which we don't want. So let's break into how does it help support you with fat loss. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast, where we help you understand this new body of yours. Maybe you've gone through some hormonal changes already. Maybe you're post-menopause, but let's face it, those old fat loss strategies just really aren't working anymore. So it is time to learn how to work with your body instead of against it so you can open up your fat burning pathways, get that energy back, and feel confident again. So today I wanted to talk about saunas for fat loss. This is a topic of conversation I've been having with women quite a bit lately, or they're sharing about it. I posted it on my stories a little bit. People were asking me questions. And I thought, hey, let's just chat about how it can actually help support you on your health and fitness journey. And so we're going to talk about how it actually helps with fat loss. And then I also want to talk about who should not do it, because there are some people that if you do it, it could actually be detrimental and put you backwards. And we're not about doing that here. So let's break into how does it help support you with fat loss? Because I have one and I love it. I typically try to do it, 2-3 days a week. I'll do 15 minutes and that's about it. And I feel great. I do it in the evening. It's amazing. And so here is why. Number one, it can actually help you with cortisol. So we know that if you are someone who struggles with your cortisol levels, if it is high, staying high all the time, high at the wrong times, we know that cortisol is going to break down your ability to produce hormones. So estrogen is going to go down, progesterone is going to go down. We're going to see testosterone going to go down. We're going to see it also slows down your thyroid function. And when that happens, your body gets worse at burning calories. When your body gets worse at burning calories, it means food does not get into the cell well. And when our body is not good at that, it makes it really easy to gain weight and really hard to lose weight because your body sucks at burning calories. But also, since the food takes longer to get into those cells, we see more inflammation. Inflammation blocks your fat burning pathway, pushes you into that growth and storage pathway, which tells your body we have enough, let's store, even though you're eating less and you're moving more. So cortisol makes hormone production worse, which we're typically already struggling with. We see thyroid function gets worse, which already increased our risks when we are going through perimenopause and menopause and estrogen starts to decline. We see an increased risk of developing hypothyroidism. We also see our blood sugars get worse. Even if you are fasting, cutting calories, and cutting carbs, your blood sugars will get worse if cortisol is high. So you could be doing all of those things, but because you're in that stressed high cortisol state, your body's blood sugar is going to go up anyways, causing insulin resistance if it is not addressed. We also see our bloating gets worse because of inflammation and our digestion starts to slow down. And so we see more bloating, more constipation. We start seeing more hormonal issues because that typically leads to estrogen dominance as well. We see our liver detoxification gets worse, which means toxins aren't getting broken down and getting out of our body well enough. And so toxins get stored in fat mass. When it gets stored in fat mass, it makes it harder to break down because the structure of the fat cells actually change. We also see when cortisol is high, it leads to more muscle breakdown, which is already happening when our estrogen starts to decline. It makes it a lot harder to build muscle mass. So now we have a double whammy in that situation. And so managing our cortisol is incredibly important for being able to lose weight, especially once we hit 35, 40, when our hormones start to fluctuate. It takes a lot less for cortisol to go up. So before it would take a 5 out of 10, before you start seeing all those negative symptoms, it used to take a 9 out of 10. Now it only takes a 5 out of 10. And so you're like, I haven't changed anything and I'm gaining weight. And it's not because you've changed anything that you're actively doing. Internally, things have, and the outside no longer matches the inside. We need to adjust our actions to match how our body is internally. And so when we're looking at sauna use, it can actually increase that rest and digest parasympathetic side of your nervous system, which brings cortisol down post heat session, because the actual heat will increase your cortisol. And so this is where we need to see how much cortisol are you struggling with already? And will it come down post sauna use, right? Like if you're someone who's go all the time and we're under eating, over exercising, cutting our carbs, doing a bunch of workouts, we're waking up early, even though we're struggling with sleep and our energy is poor, dealing with deadlines at work and we're rushing around all the time and we're stuck in traffic and we're scrolling to try and de-stress and take time for ourselves, even though that's really overstimulating, and we're taking care of sick parents and our dog pooped on the floor, and then someone has the nerve to ask you what's for dinner. High cortisol. Most of us are there, right? And so we want to make sure that when we are doing saunas, if we choose to do saunas, we need to make sure it's not too much of a stress, where then it's not a good stress that then allows us to recover afterwards and bring down. We don't want it to stay elevated afterwards, right? So this is where we need to do some troubleshooting of, are we making sure we're eating enough food? Are we making sure that we're hydrated? Are we making sure that we're working out the right way? Are we prioritizing our sleep? Because otherwise it ends up being too much. And so just because some is good does not mean more is better. And so this is where we need to adjust things with people and see if it's really appropriate. So it can help you to lower that cortisol response to help with fat loss if you're doing other things to help bring cortisol down during the day as well. This can be things as simple as getting feet up, doing some deep breathing during the day. I share my Oura Ring stats very often on my social media, so you can see that, where I'm in a stressed state because I'm working and I'm on and I'm go, recording podcasts. I love it. It's fulfilling, but I'm on, right? When you are on, it's a stress. There's increased demand on what you are giving. You're giving your energy. So if you're a nurse, if you're a teacher, a doctor, a paramedic, if you are someone who's giving all the time, stay-at-home moms, you're stressed. It's a stress on your body. And so if we take just 3 to 5 minutes to do slow, deep breathing, or get your feet up on the wall and just bring your heart rate and breathing rate down, it can massively support you getting out of that fight or flight state. And you can see it with my Oura Ring data all the time. And so, yes, sauna use can help you lose fat by lowering cortisol if we don't have too much cortisol all the rest of the time. The next way that it can help you at fat loss is by addressing hormones. It can actually increase your growth hormone, which supports building muscle mass, which we know if you have more muscle mass, your body is better at burning calories. It's also going to make you look fit and toned. It's going to help you also burn fat, which is amazing, and metabolic function, which means make your body better at burning calories. And so some studies have shown that growth hormone increases 5 to 10 times after sauna use, which is great for women who are struggling to build muscle mass, because when estrogen goes down, we have a harder time building muscle. That being said, the sauna is not going to magically give you muscles. We need to make sure that we are working out the right way. We need to make sure that we are eating enough protein and enough calories to support building muscle mass and getting enough sleep, because growth hormone is produced during sleep at the most of the time. That's how our recovery happens and how we build muscle. So if you aren't doing those things, sauna won't help you that much. That would be like putting a turbo on a car that's got a terrible engine, or the engine doesn't even work. Not going to get very far, right? But if we take the time to address the engine, now the turbo can really do its work and we really see the changes. So that's what we want to do, is make sure the engine is running well. So that way when we boost it with something like sauna use, we get these massive results, right? Then we have our mitochondria. So you've probably heard mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell, right? Our Bio 30, our high school science, whatever you took. And so they are what give us energy. They are also what helps use energy in our body, the food that we're using, right? And so saunas can actually promote the creation of new mitochondria, mitochondrial biogenesis. And that's going to help your body burn more fat. It's going to help you recover from workouts and also feel energized. The other thing too is that it helps improve glucose utilization. So using carbs for energy and being able to put that into muscle bellies so that we have, energy there for our next workouts. And then it's not getting stored as belly fat, but also we're not needing to use as much insulin to move those carbohydrates into areas of our body. And so then we're less likely to be insulin resistant. This is important because we know during perimenopause and menopause, we become more insulin resistant when estrogen goes down. And we also see our mitochondrial health also takes a hit. So this is where sauna use could potentially help you there. However, you still need to do the other things, right? You still need to work out. You still need to eat the foods, all that kind of stuff. The next thing it helps with is detoxification. When we are sweating, we are eliminating toxins and excess hormones, all those things to clear out of your body, which can be really helpful, especially for someone who struggles with detoxification. So we know that when you go through perimenopause, so 35, 40, 45, even early 50s, we know that most women are going to be estrogen dominant because progesterone goes down first. So even if estrogen is normal, or it's even low. If it's too low compared to progesterone, we have estrogen dominant symptoms like bloating and all those wonderful PMS symptoms that we get to experience. And so we know that with sweating through the sauna, it can actually help get rid of that, so we're not experiencing those things. The other thing too, infrared saunas in particular, so not necessarily the traditional saunas, the wet saunas. That's what I have, is a wet sauna from New Recover, and I love it. But with the infrared sauna specifically, it can actually help break down and eliminate cholesterol and other fatty substances. So if that's something that you struggle with, this can be a really great tool as well. Again, there's a lot of things that you got to do to help support cholesterol. However, this is one just little extra thing that you can add. Then inflammation. We know that inflammation is going to go up during perimenopause and menopause when estrogen goes down. Inflammation blocks your fat burning pathway, making weight loss very challenging. So we know that sauna sessions can actually help decrease inflammation overall and that oxidative stress to keep those fat burning pathways open, making fat loss even an option. We want to make sure that we are lowering that inflammation for a number of reasons, not just opening up those fat burning pathways, but we also see our hormone signaling is better. So hormone production can improve. We see improved mood, which many of us are irritable. And then we're like, oh, I may have overreacted when you look back at things, right? We want to have less of those moments. It can also help reduce joint pain as well, which we know increases during perimenopause and menopause as well. We know that you'll typically have fewer menopausal symptoms when we bring inflammation down because of that improved hormone signaling, which is awesome. So, the hot flashes, the mood swings, the low energy. When we look at infrared saunas in particular, the increased blood circulation can help reduce inflammation by promoting dilation of our blood vessels. So our blood vessels will actually expand, so they're bigger. It's like the hose circumference gets bigger. And so now there's more blood flow going through it, which can actually help eliminate metabolic waste products that can cause that inflammation. And it also decreases the level of inflammatory messengers like cytokines and prostaglandins, which tell your body, oh, there's something going on. We need to help it to heal. And then we see more inflammation. And so it can actually help reduce that as well, which is phenomenal. Then we have sleep. Saunas can actually help with sleep, and we know how much of a problem sleep is for women during perimenopause and menopause. So we know that post-cool down sleep, or the post-cool down after a sauna session, can help promote deep sleep, which is a sleep that we need to really recover to help with our liver detoxification, to help lower inflammation, to heal our body, build muscle. Incredibly important. And we see this is especially true if we're having that sauna session 2 to 3 hours before bed. We know that if you are getting better sleep, it makes everything so much easier, right? We're just personally, we're more pleasant to be around, right? You can tell when someone hasn't had a good night's sleep, they're a little grouchy. And so with better sleep, what we see is if you have two groups in a fat loss phase, the group with better sleep will lose more fat. They will lose less muscle mass. They'll have better appetite signaling, so they don't have the cravings, and better blood sugar control, which is amazing. We also know we're going to see beneficial effects on our hormone production. We're going to see lowers your cortisol, which we talked about is really important, right? So just by having better sleep, you are more likely to open up those fat burning pathways. And so sauna use can actually help support that. Then better insulin sensitivity. I touched on this a little bit, but there is also a secondary way that this happens. And so you have these things called GLUT4s, which are little transporters that move glucose, carbohydrates from our bloodstream into muscle cells, which is awesome, right? We want that. Sauna use has been shown to upregulate those little GLUT4 transporters. So that means that there's less reliance on insulin. So then we are less likely to be insulin resistant. So this can actually help us a lot. We know this also happens during exercise. So if you exercise at a hard enough intensity, so doing some proper strength training, we know that these GLUT4s become active and take sugar and take it to our muscle cells. We're less likely to use it in fat cells, and when we don't have to use as much insulin. Sauna use also does that. So pairing exercise and sauna use together, phenomenal for this. And then there's an added bonus, not necessarily like fat loss related, but the whole body's connected, right? Is there's really good benefits for heart health. And we know that as we age and we go through perimenopause and menopause because of the hormonal changes that we experience, we are more likely to experience heart disease and stroke. And so studies have found that infrared saunas can reduce all-cause mortality death risks similar to being active. Saunas have been shown to improve your vascular function, to reduce arterial stiffness, and to decrease inflammatory circulating markers and lipid profiles, which all are going to help lower your blood pressure and lower your cardiovascular disease risk. In one study, they followed participants for 20 years, and they found that using saunas 4 to 7 times per week was associated with lower death from stroke or cardiovascular disease. That is significant. But you also have to think about, in this study, were the people more likely to use sauna also active? Were the people who were more likely to use the sauna also healthy eaters? There are other things that you have to account for, because sometimes people who use saunas might just be people who also are more likely to take care of their health. So you also have to put that into account as well when you're looking at studies like that. So those are like the benefits to help you with fat loss, but I want to touch on briefly who should not use it, because I have to, right? I want to make sure that if you are doing this, it's because it's beneficial to you. And so I want to go over the few people who shouldn't do it or should talk to their doctor first beforehand, because it can result in worse health outcomes, which we don't want. So the first one is if you are in a state of HPA axis dysfunction, which means chronic fatigue, burnout, or adrenal dysregulation. And we want to be very mindful that our heat sessions aren't long or too often, because it can be that additional stress that we talked about, because heat is a stress on our body. And when your body is already depleted and your cortisol's all over the place, or it's too high, or it's really low because you've been in a state of high stress for too long, your body doesn't send the right signals that you need when you are stressed out. Your body is just exhausted. And so the heat sessions can actually make you feel worse. You can feel more tired. You can feel dizzy afterwards or lightheaded. And that's not something that we want. And we know that too much stress is going to result in weight gain. So we want to make sure that we are not crossing that threshold and paying attention to these things. Some red flags to watch for this specifically is if you're struggling with dizziness, if your sleep gets worse, or your increased irritability after your sauna sessions as well. The other thing you also need to be mindful of is electrolyte imbalances or dehydration. Sweating out toxins is great, but you are also going to sweat out sodium, potassium, magnesium, and your body really needs those things to function properly and to counteract that stress response. So if we aren't replenishing it, you are more likely to experience headaches, low energy, heart palpitations, worse recovery. So always pair your sauna sessions with electrolytes and water, especially post-exercise, or if you're in hot climates. And so you can use, I personally like using Liquid IV, the sugar-free ones. I love peach and I love lemon lime. I know some people like Element Tea. That's a very popular electrolyte brand as well. I personally can't have it. The sodium to potassium ratio is just a bit much for me. And something about some of the artificial sweeteners in it really bother me. So you got to just pay attention to how your body responds to it, because some can increase bloating. So it can take a little bit of time to find the right brand for you. If you have severe hormonal imbalances, specifically hypothyroidism, we want to be paying attention to this if it's not yet managed, because it can make those sauna sessions more draining as opposed to supportive. And so we know your thyroid specifically does play a big role in regulating your heat, your energy, and your metabolic response. Is your body good at burning calories? So if it's slow, if it's sluggish, the heat exposure can really overwhelm your body. So you want to just make sure that you're feeling good and your thyroid, your hypothyroid and your thyroid are being managed and supported well. There are some medical conditions that I would suggest that if you have these, you talk to your doctors first, just to make sure you are safe and good to go. So if you have cardiovascular disease or arrhythmias, if you struggle with low blood pressure or fainting, if you have certain medications, so if you're on diuretics and beta blockers, for example, good idea to talk to your doctor about it. If you are pregnant, especially in that first trimester, if you have kidney disease, just because we have that risk of fluid electrolyte issues that we want to be mindful of, or if you've had a recent stroke or seizure history, just make sure you consult with your healthcare provider first to make sure that you are good to go. Signs to watch for that it might be too much for you are dizziness or lightheadedness, headaches or not being able to sleep after sauna sessions, feeling exhausted rather than rejuvenated and relaxed. And if you're having dry skin, cracked lips, or muscle cramping, that's also a sign of electrolyte loss. So you'll want to make sure that you pay attention to that. So I personally, for my sauna routine, I have a wet sauna. It's the new Recover. It's got like a little water tank beside it, a little hose that goes in it. There's a little steamer in the bottom. And it's great. I love it. It doesn't take up very much space. It was fairly affordable. With with the sauna use, what I do is I do like 2 to 3 days a week, 10 to 15 minutes, and that's about it. I am someone who personally struggles with cortisol. I've shared that before about my Dutch tests. You can find the podcast on that to see what the Dutch test looks like. I go over all my results and kind of what I'm doing for it, to give you a better understanding of what that looks like. But with my history in particular, my hormones are not super awesome. I struggle with cortisol big time. And so for me, I can't go too hard, right? Like I can't do too often. I can't go for too long because then it becomes overwhelming. The key thing that I notice first right away is if I can't sleep. That's like I'm doing too much. I need to pull back a bit. I need to make sure I'm eating enough food to buffer cortisol to bring it back down. This is where, I'm doing more feet up. I'm adjusting my exercise appropriately, really paying attention to how much stress is good, because some stress is going to be good to cause you to change, right? Your body adapts to it and becomes more resilient. But when our hormones are low, it's really, really hard. Like a 5 out of 10 on the stress scale is now actually a 9 out of 10. And we see all those negative side effects of poor hormone production, poor blood sugar control, poor liver function. Thyroid gets worse. We lose muscle. We're not sleeping. Our energy is worse. Our bloating is worse. Digestion is slow. We're super backed up. So this is where understanding, okay, how much stress is a good stress versus, now I'm too high and now it's a negative stress. And so this is where really understanding your body and listening to it is super important. If you feel like you have no idea what your body's trying to tell you, or you're just like so overwhelmed and just want to figure out what the heck to do, we do offer free consultation calls. Those are not a sales call at all. Those are a totally separate thing. These consultation calls are strictly just to assess, where are you at right now? What does your body need based on your history, your energy, sleep, digestion, your past diet history, your current diets, past exercise history, current history? Like, we go over all those things with you to help you determine how much should you be eating to open up your fat burning pathways. How many carbohydrates do you actually need? How much protein do you actually need? What kind of exercise adjustments can we do for you? What are lifestyle things that we need to change? Just to give you the guidance to start doing this on your own, because I know it can be really overwhelming and you're just consuming information everywhere. And sometimes it's just nice for someone to go, this is where your body's at. Here's what you should do. And that's what we do on our consultation calls. So if you want to take advantage of that, it's in the show notes for you. I hope this was helpful and that you enjoyed it. I personally really love pairing my sauna time with prayer. I find it just like really helps me calm down and center myself. It helps me also not be so stressed out. It makes the time go by faster because sometimes it feels like it goes forever. And so it's just figuring out what's the right amount for you is going to be really what you need to focus on. And we can help you with that. So I love you so much. Make sure you subscribe and I will talk to you soon. Bye.